Шайб забросил. Гол! Ну, я думаю, что это все.
Наверное, это все. Во-первых, и шайба в стиле Далласа на второй. Пятачок. Вот именно там.
Okay, welcome to the Puck Drops here. We have a whole new video series for you guys. I'm just doing some of these to pass the time. These are some really interesting ones. These are revisiting videos. You may or may not know the hockey guy, the famous, incredible YouTuber, so talented, who does the videos that he revisits the Stanley Cup champions. Well, I thought that was an awesome idea. What I'm doing is these videos called Revisiting. We're revisiting the conference champions since I've been alive, from 2000 until this coming year when the Stanley Cup is won. But of the team that won the conference, had a magical run, but just didn't make it. We're going first, starting at 2000. We are going to run through the whole century. And what we are talking about now is the 2000 Dallas Stars. That was just a replay of Roman Nyshchenko's goal that made it 3-0 Dallas and won the conference final, the Game 7 against the Colorado Avalanche that year. And we'll talk about the players that they had, the team they had, the magical run they had, and how it just wasn't able to come into fruition for that team. That team ended up having a great run through the playoffs and losing to my New Jersey Devils in a heartbreaking game overtime 6 that we will discuss going through. First, I'm going to look at their roster. And first, guys, obviously, you want to look at are on wingers, and we'll look at the point getters first. They had Keith Aldridge, Michigan-born winger. He played 4 games that year, had no points, not really a fundamental player. Guy Carbonneau, the former Canadian center. And on that year, we'll just list the players. Ryan Christie, a young winger too on that team. Aaron Gravey, the center from Sudbury, Ontario. He had a great NHL career. This is also, you may remember, this is a team that was just defending their title. They were defending Stanley Cup champions after winning the President's Trophy and running through the season the previous year and beating the Sabres in a controversial Game 6. They were defending their title already, so they were deep. And of course, Brett Hull, who came in that year and won the Stanley Cup with them, scored the controversial goal to win the Stanley Cup. He came in his second year and stayed with the Dallas Stars, the Belleville native, and of course, Hall of Fame player Brett Hull was. Jamie Langenbrunner, who later goes on to play for the Devils. Mike Keane, Yuri Lettinen, who was a young player at that time, but as a second-year player, ended up playing for the Dallas Stars for almost half a decade of more time. Roman Nyshchenko, who is going to become important in this episode. Warren Luning, Juha Lind, all young European players that were brought in to win for the Dallas Stars as well. They had Grant Marshall, who also later becomes a Devil. Mike Modano, the great Mike Modano, one of the greatest American players of all time, who's the leading scorer. Brendan Morrow, who was a rookie at that time. Kirk Muller, Chris Murray, the great scorer, and Joe Nieuwendyk, Pavel Patera, Derek Plant, who played for Buffalo the previous year, John Sim, Brian Skrudland, Blake Sloan, Scotty Thornton, and Jamie Wright, all for offense. So a terrifically deep offensive team. On defense, they had Joel Bouchard, the former Minnesota North Star, who was with the franchise for a long time, and Sean Chambers, Sylvian Cote, Kevin Dean, the great Darian Hatcher, Rick Jackman, Alan Letang, Brad Lukowich, Dave Manson, Richard Machevchik, Jamie Pushor, Daryl Sador, and Sergei Zubov. Zubov and Sador were excellent defensemen, along with Chambers and Darian Hatcher, but it was a very thin defensive team. That was their main weakness. And on goaltending, Manny Fernandez, their young backup, and of course Eddie Belfour, a big time goaltender that they had. They were a deep team. And they were second in the Western Conference, and ended up being second in. Yes, they were second in the Western Conference with the fourth best record in the National Hockey League, sixth best record in the National Hockey League, as the East was a much better conference at that time as the West was. And the Dallas Stars was second in their Pacific Division, because back then there were 3 divisions in each conference, 5 up, and it was the 1 to 8 seeding, which is going to continue until the 2014 season in this series. Dallas had the second best record in Western Conference. They were 43-23 and 10 overtime losses. There were no points back then. It was just listed as on wins. They finished ahead of the Los Angeles Kings, the Phoenix Coyotes, and the San Jose Sharks, out of 4 teams that made it out of their division, and won. The only team that they were inferior to in the Western Conference, having better records than the 7-seeded Edmonton Oilers, who they played in the first round, the 3-seeded Colorado Avalanche, 4-seeded Red Wings. Only the number 1-seeded Blues had a better record. And the Dallas Stars, as we said, they began play against the Edmonton Oilers, and they had their first game at home in the Reunion Arena in Dallas, Texas. And it was a game that the Edmonton Oilers got 14 shots on goal on Eddie Belfour. And on Edmonton, the Dallas Stars ended up getting 32 shots on Tony Salo, and 2 of those went past him. There were some good moments that the Edmonton Oilers were able to have on Dallas, but Belfour only led in 1 goal. And the scorer of that goal was German Titov. It was a good small winger for them in Game 1, but Dallas ended up winning off of a goal by Mike Keane and a goal by the rookie Ryan Lashenko. Roman Lashenko was his first goal in the Stanley Cup playoffs ever at that point for the young rookie. And so that game, people expected the Dallas Stars to end up winning and lead the series 1-0, and they were able to do so against a team that had deep players like Ryan Smith. Then Game 2 came along. Also, they tried to take a 2-game-to-none series lead, and they did. And this time, as good as Belfour played in Game 1, he played even better in Dallas in Game 2. Belfour had a shutout against the Edmonton Oilers. There were only 17 shots on goal for Edmonton, and it was the squelching defense and the ironclad defense of the Dallas Stars that had regressed and didn't play as well in the regular season as it had the previous season, but was able to do so with great effect and great wherewithal against Edmonton in this series in this year. Dallas was able to solve Salo again, and they got a goal from Brett Hull, a goal from John Thornton, and a goal from Kirk Muller. So their big boys were able to end up scoring for Dallas. Muller scored 4 minutes into the first period. Hull scored 3 minutes into the second period. and Thornton scored with 6 remaining in the third. That gave them a 2-0 series lead, and so Dallas went to Alberta, to the Skyreach Center, trying to take a 3-0 commanding lead, and that game was very different. A whopping 38 shots on goal for the Edmonton Oilers in game number 3 on Eddie Belfour, 28 shots on goal against the Dallas Stars. They did have a good amount of shots, but they only got 2 goals. Pasalo and Belfour could not take the onslaught of Edmonton. Doug Weight scored for the Oilers, 8:40 within the third. Jim Dowd had his second goal of the game, the former Devil. Doug Weight scored another for the Oilers. Ryan Smith, the young player who has become one of the classic Oiler players ever, especially not to win a championship, scored. At this point, you're looking at the second period has just started, and it's 4-0 Edmonton. And so people are wondering what is going on with Eddie Belfour. Brendan Moores finally gets a puck past Salo. Doug Weight scores to make it 5-1, and then Mike Modano for the Dallas Stars. By that point, 5-2, and now it's a whole different series, 2-1. And so you go back to the Skyreach Center, and Edmonton's trying to tie the series and get some momentum back for their squad. But again, the defense way too much. Not many goals. Well, a good amount of goals, but not many shots on goal. Only 24 for the Dallas Stars, but they got 4 goals. They got 4 goals out of it. 3 goals for the Edmonton Oilers, but only 18 shots on goal. So it was patient offense that was able to get through. For the Dallas Stars, Hull scores his second goal of the playoff year. 5:02 into the first. Richard Machovichuk scores for Dallas again. That made it 2-0 Stars. Billy Guerin scored twice. The former Devil Edmonton. He gets to see a lot. Former Devil scoring a lot, and it made it 2-2. At this point, the Edmonton crowd is really going crazy, and it gets to the point where what's going to go on? Modano ends up scoring a goal in the second period, 52 seconds in, to make it 3-2 Dallas. Again, early starts, early explosions for the Stars. And Billy Guerin gets a hat trick that ties the game at 3. But with 5:01 into the third, Guy Carbonneau gets the game winner right past Salo to make it 4-3 Dallas, and that's how the score would end. So now at that point, an amazing game, but there are no points. There are no toughness skills or hat trick points for winning nicely. So they didn't win, obviously. The Edmonton Oilers did not. So the series is 3-1 Dallas. They're going back to Reunion Arena in Texas. And it ends up actually being a close game. The Edmonton Oilers get 26 shots on goal on Eddie Belfour, and Dallas gets 27. And it's a 1-goal game, but the Oilers only get 2 past them. The first goal is again by the Dallas Stars, and it's 5:35 into the second period. No score in the first. It's Langenbrunner from Nieuwendyk and Modano, and then Todd Marchant, who is a player who plays a bunch of years later in National Hockey League, later playing for the Anaheim Ducks, comes in and ties the game 12:45 into the second. And then Darian Hatcher scores for Dallas to make it 2-1, 14-12 to go in the second period. Jimmy Dowd again for the Dallas Stars ends up tying the game. Jimmy Dowd for the Edmonton Oilers, ends up tying the game with 107 into the third, an unassisted goal, a steal, and 14:58 into the third with only about 6:15 left in the third period. Brett Hull ends up getting what becomes the series-winning goal past Salo, and it was a good fight for the Edmonton Oilers, but it really wasn't enough, and so Dallas goes on to the second round. Now, most Dallas Stars fans think that they're going to get the series of an epic that they may lose to the St. Louis Blues, but St. Louis ends up losing in 7, getting upset by the 8-seed Sharks So while most of the world is watching the bloodbath in the Pepsi Center between the Avalanche and the Red Wings, the Stars are doing battle with San Jose. And so game one begins against them. Obviously, they were thinking of meeting Roman Turek for the St. Louis Blues, but Steve Shields, the future Bruin, is the goaltender that they meet in San Jose. And the Sharks have a bunch of good players like Owen Nolan, but Dallas really caves in on the Sharks. They get 27 shots on goal on Shields, and the Sharks only get 18 on Eddie Belfour. Dallas, with 5:45 into the first, strikes first. Again, early starts. Aaron Gavey. Mike Modano, 14-1 into the first, makes it 2-0 Dallas. Joe Nieuwendyk in the third period, for there were no second period goals, with 2:48 in the third, makes it 3-0 Stars. And 4:23 into the third, Brendan Morrow caps up the night 4-0. A second playoff shutout of the playoff year for Eddie Belfour, and that makes it 1-0 lead for Dallas. So 2 games later and 2 days later, the Dallas Stars come in to play San Jose again at home, and this is a much closer game, a tighter defensive game. The Stars score the only goal of the hockey game, and it's Mike Modano, 7:26 in the first, and that's the game winner. But they only got 18 shots on goal on Shields. Every shot he stopped except for one, which was Modano's game winner. And for the third time, another shutout for Eddie Belfour, but he got 19 shots on goal by the Sharks. But you're getting to a point that as Dallas takes a 2-0 series lead, this second round best of 7, the Sharks lost their magic because of how hard they had played the President's Trophy Blues. And also these teams went into man advantage. The Sharks were 0-5 in the power play. The Dallas Stars were 0-3 of the power play. And Eddie Belfour played great, but you get to a point where you've played 2 games and you haven't scored a goal against this Dallas Star team. And that ended up being a big point of contention, obviously. So Dallas goes to San Jose Arena for game number 3, and just as in the previous series, they can't take that 3-0 series lead, and San Jose finally gets their first win, and they get 2 goals. But once again, for the third straight time, as Dallas actually peppered Shields, they took 31 shots on goal on Shields, cashing in on one of them, early goal, and San Jose had 28 shots on goal and cashed in twice on Eddie Belfour, which was the most shots on goal they had at this point in the series. Mike Modano with 3:35 in the first period. It was a power play goal, 3:35 into the first period. Power play goal made it 1-0 Stars. But then Mike Ricci scored 5:42 into the second to tie the game. And Owen Nolan, the hero against the St. Louis Blues the previous series, 14:56 into the second period, he ends up getting the game winner. And he gets the first win of the series for the San Jose Sharks. So Dallas gears up for game 4, and once again, just as it was against the Oilers, it's a big-time playoff battle shootout that the Dallas Stars end up winning. They shoot 33 shots on goal on Shields, and they saw them 5 times. But the San Jose Sharks score 4 goals on Eddie Belfour, but pepper him with 35 shots at that point, and 2 of 7 on an amazing amount of power plays, 0 of 5 for the Dallas Stars. But for that point, if you're going to let up 4 goals, but you give up 35 shots, it was actually a pretty good night for Eddie Belfour, and obviously the Dallas Stars won. Mike Modano, 1:08 first into the first period. Again, quick starts for the Dallas Stars. He scored first. Vincent Damhouse tied the game for the San Jose Sharks, 8:52 into the first period. Guy Carbonneau scored his second goal of the postseason, 10:21 into the first period, making it 2-1 Stars, and it was a shorthanded goal while San Jose was on their power play. Mike Ricci, his fifth goal of the playoffs, but second of the series, was assisted by Sundstrom and Strum. He ties the game at ending up what's being the tying goal at point for San Jose. Sergei Zubov in the second period, 56 seconds into the second period, makes it 3-2 Dallas, and this obviously ends up being a classic, as you can clearly see. Owen Nolan, also in the second period, 7:48 in, has tied the game at 3. And then 10:52 into the second period, almost 3 minutes later, but even less, Nieuwendyk makes it 4-3 Stars. And then Todd Harvey, 14:08 into the second period, ties the game with a power play goal. Owen Nolan's the shorthanded goal. Harvey's is a power play goal. And with less than 2 minutes into the second period, Joe Nieuwendyk scores his second goal of the hockey game and make it 5-4, and it ends up being the game winner, and Dallas heads home again with a 3-1 series lead. Dallas has a chance to close out and go to their third straight Western Conference final. The Sharks again did a good job of peppering Eddie Belfour, but he only let in one goal and 33 shots on goal, and the only goal was on the power play. 30 shots on goal for the Dallas Stars. 2 of 3 of those were on the power play, and they got 4 in past Shields. 10:31 into the first period, it's Joe Nieuwendyk for Dallas. He scores the first goal. Scotty Thornton, 13:34 in the first, makes it 2-0 Dallas. There's no goals in the second period, but you have a 2-0 Dallas lead. San Jose is trying to get back. 4-2 into the third. Brett Hull makes it 3-0 Dallas on a power play goal. Stars get on the power play again. Sylvain Cote makes it 4-0 Stars on a power play goal. And with 8:32 into the third period, Patrick Marleau scores the only goal for the San Jose Sharks. It's a power play goal. It's the only goal let up by Eddie Belfour in that year, and it's the end of the Sharks season, and the Dallas Stars are able to clean it up 4-1 and advance to the Western Conference Final for the third year in a row. Just as they had beaten the just as they had played the Detroit Red Wings the previous season and beaten the Colorado Avalanche the previous season before that, they end up playing one of those two teams, and Colorado downs the Red Wings in 5 games. So it is, again, Avalanche and Stars in the conference final, and you get to game 1, and there wasn't, and the Stars knew they had to play extremely well on offense, because even though they did have home ice, nothing against the 2 goalies they had played, but guys like Shields and guys like just finding out the other name. Salo were good players, but Dallas knew they had to amp it up on offense, specifically because they were dealing with Patrick Waugh. And Patrick Waugh is one of the greatest goaltenders and players in the National Hockey League. And so they got 24 shots on goal on Patrick Waugh, and the Avalanche got 18 shots on goal on Eddie Belfour. But Belfour let up 2 goals, and Waugh let up nothing. A shutout for Patrick Waugh. No goals in the first period. 8:51 into the second, Milan Hajduk scored to make it 1-0 on a power play goal. Aaron Miller made it 2-0 Avalanche with 17:32 in the second period, and that was 2-0 Colorado on that side. and there were no goals scored in the third period. So a rough second period undone the Stars, and then the Avalanche led the series 1-0. Dallas didn't want to go into Pepsi Center into Denver down 2-0 in a hostile environment where the Avalanche would probably win. So their whole objective was, we don't know if we can score, but we need to just go there and pressure and get loads of shots on Patrick Roy. And that's what they did. They got 34 shots on Patrick Roy. Colorado got 22 shots on Eddie Belfour. Colorado got 2 goals out of it, but Dallas really won the strategy because they ended up winning and ended up getting 3 goals past Roy. Again, no goals in the first period, and again, a star second period. And for the second straight game, Colorado struck first, and for the second straight game, it was Sandis Ozolich. He scored 25 seconds into the second period to make it 1-0 Colorado. Mike Modano tied the game, 5:54 into the second period, and late in the second period, 18:15 in, Dallas made it 2-1 off Modano's goal. And then what ends up being the game winner in the third period, his 5th goal of the postseason, 5:48 into the third period, Brett Hull scores, makes it 3-1, and it's the game-winning goal because 14:23 into the third period, Swedish sensation Peter Forsberg cuts the deficit in half, but there would be no goals, and Dallas would go to Colorado tied at 1. And they got to Colorado, and it was more like game number 1. 21 shots on goal on Patrick Roy, and the Colorado Avalanche, scoreboard-wise, didn't dominate, but stat-wise, absolutely dominated the Dallas Stars. They only got 2 goals, but a whopping 40 shots on Eddie Belfour, and he missed 2 of those, obviously giving up 2 goals. But for the second time in 3 games, Patrick Roy got a shutout. And in the first period for the Colorado Avalanche, it was Sean Podine, a veteran, who scored 139 into the first period, making it 1-0 Avalanche. And in the second period, it was Adam Deadmarsh, their great defenseman, in 14:50 into the second period. He made it 2-0 on a power play goal, and that sealed up Dallas's fate. And Colorado, again, had a series lead. Now they had game 4, and Dallas got the absolute recipe that they needed. And what was incredible about it was that they wanted a dominant performance, and they got a dominant performance against the Avalanche, but they only got 15 shots on Patrick Roy. And the Colorado Avalanche had 39 shots on Eddie Belfour. But despite that fact, and Dallas did convert on a power play, which Avalanche had 4 of, but didn't convert on any, as Dallas did. Colorado had 39 shots on goal and only beat Eddie Belfour once. It was a standout game for the former Blackhawk. Joe Nieuwendyk scored for the Dallas Stars 7:12 into the first on a power play goal to make it 1-0 Stars. Brett Hull, 17:30 into the first period, made it 2-0 Stars, his 6th goal of the postseason, second against the Avalanche in the conference final. And Dave Reed's first goal, finally, it was the first goal for him, first goal for the Avalanche. It was non-assisted, 1:43 into the second period, cutting the deficit to 1. And Dallas fans were like, oh, here we go. But Brett Hull got another goal, 3-1, which ends up really being the game-winning goal, 7:52 into the second period. And Richard Matvichuk makes it 4-1, 4:39 into the third, and that ends up tying the series. Which brings you to Game 5, which is one of the most exciting games for the Dallas Stars all season, and one of the best games that entire season had. It's 31 shots on goal for the Colorado Avalanche, 20 shots on goal for the Dallas Stars. It was a 3-2 game that ended up going into overtime, and the Stars, young Stars, please mind the pun, were able to solve Patrick Roy. The final score ended up being 3-2, Dallas scored a power play goal on they had 6 tries. Colorado was 0-4 again. And once again, for the third time in 4 games, with the fourth time in 5 games, excuse me, math is off. 4th time in 5 games, the Avalanche scored first, and it was John Clem from Yelly and Forsberg, 12-11 into the first to make it 1-0 Avalanche. Jere Lehtinen then tied the game, 4:26 into the second, and Brett Hull had one of the most unstoppable postseasons. He scored his 8th goal, 14:41 into the second, a power play goal, and it made it 2-1 Stars. And in the third period, Milan Hajduk was able to score his 4th goal of the playoff year, 2:19 into the third, making it 2-2. And throughout the entire third period, it waned, and then it went into overtime. And with 6 minutes left in overtime, Colorado was jumping the puck on their own blue line and trying to befuddle to get it out. They know that whoever goes to the Pepsi Center has a real chance to win the series in Game 6. But Milan Hajduk made a mistake as he went down on the puck, and Dallas was able to cut into the offensive zone. And with Patrick Waugh dipping and diving on a wide open lane, Joe Nieuwendyk, the former Flame, comes in and lifts an absolute ripper of a screenshot to beat him in overtime. An insane goal, which gave the Dallas Stars the overtime winner and the 3-2 series advantage, their first series lead all year long again in the conference final. And so they went to the Pepsi Center for Game 6, but Colorado was not going to wilt. So it's their toughest task all year. And Dallas did a good job defensively. Colorado only got 21 shots on goal, and Dallas got 27. But Patrick Waugh was brilliant. They were only able to solve Waugh once, and it was a power play goal. And the guy that ended up scoring first in the game, 4:30 into the second, as in his first year as a member of the Colorado Avalanche, and his first playoff goal as an Avalanche was the longtime Bruin Hall of Fame, Ray Bourque. 4:30 into the second, he made it 1-0 Avalanche. Brett Hull, again, was amazing. He tied it 12:37 into the second on a power play goal, making it 1-1. And then Chris Drury set the series to 7, 16:09 into the third, making it 2-1 Avalanche, and that ended up tying the series. And so for the first time, there was going to be a Game 7 for the Dallas Stars. And Colorado and this was a classic. Colorado was able to get 33 shots down on Eddie Belfour, and Dallas got 29 on Patrick Waugh. But the first period started again fast, like they needed it. 6:36 into the first, Sergei Zubov made it 1-0 Dallas, a power play goal. 19:54 into the first, with only 6 seconds left, Mike Modano absolutely crushed the hopes and dreams of the Avalanche, making it 2-0. And Roman Lyashenko, that goal that I just played before at the beginning of the video, 5:31 into the second, made it 3-0 Stars. And by now it looks like they've won the conference, but Colorado comes back. Third period starts at 3-0 Dallas, 5:25 into the third. It's a shorthanded goal for Forsberg, and he makes it 3-1. And then Milan Hajduk, 8:26 in the third, makes it 3-2. Suddenly that Lyashenko goal means something. And Lyashenko's second goal of the postseason, first since Game 1 against Edmonton, ends up being the goal that wins the Western Conference for the Dallas Stars. I just want to alert you guys that the Boston Bruins Carolina Hurricanes game just went final. Boston won 2-1. Boston has a 3-0 series lead heading into Thursday's Game 4 with a chance to clinch for the first time in 6 years. So that will be obviously very interesting. But yes, so Dallas ended up clinching the conference, and they head to the Stanley Cup final. on the road against a team that had some issues in the New Jersey Devils. They had to come down 3-1 against the Philadelphia Flyers the previous year. And Dallas had some playoff pedigree because New Jersey had won the Stanley Cup, and they had a lot of players that had done it in 1995. But a bunch of new players were younger. They understood losing more. They had missed the playoffs 2 years. They had lost to the New York Rangers. They had lost to the Ottawa Senators, inferior teams in playoff years past, and Dallas had just won the Stanley Cup. But Dallas, because the Western Conference was so inferior to the Eastern Conference, they ended up being on the road to start game number 1. And this was a shellacking the Dallas Stars had not even given all year long. And so they end up in game 1 of the Stanley Cup final. It's an incredible atmosphere in Continental Airlines Arena, New Jersey, against the Devils. They get 18 shots on Marty Brodeur. They only get 3 past him. The Devils get 26 shots on Eddie Belfour. But they end up getting 7 goals out of it. And we'll read how this ends up happening. Jason Arnott on the Arnott line scores first, 7:22 into the first period, making it 1-0 Devils, sending the crowd there in a frenzy. Darryl Sydor for the Dallas Stars, 13:13 to the first, ties it. And then it goes to the second period, and what do you know? There's always a guy that you don't expect to end up winning great playoff games. And 2:52 into the second period, defenseman, Mr. Devil, Kenny Danico, scores to make it 2-1 Devils. He gets a puck from Breland, and he fires it home over the glove side of Eddie Belfour. Peter Sikora, the big-time offensive player, 7th goal of the postseason, and it was actually Danico's first goal of the postseason. Sikora makes it 3-1, 10:28 into the second. Scott Stevens, another defenseman, rips it past Belfour. Now it's 4-1, 16:04 into the second, and now you exit the second intermission, and you go into the ice to start the third period. You're down 4-1, and Sergei Breland gets a load of speed and just bum rushes Belfour, backhands it over his shoulder, and now it's 5-1. And about a minute and a half later, Peter Sikora comes in, does almost the same move, and beats Eddie Belfour stick side, and Eddie Belfour is benched by Ken Hitchcock at this point. So now in comes Fernandez, the backup goalie Manny Fernandez. And now it's 6-1. Jason Arnott just goes up from a pass by Bobby Holik, and it's 7-1, a power play goal for the Devils. Not a good night for Dallas. 7:43 into the third, John Sims scores for the Stars, and Kirk Muller, 7:55 into the third, scores for the Dallas Stars as well. He makes it 7-3, but it's just not the night for Dallas, and the Devils take game number 1. Game number 2 is in Continental Airlines, and Dallas ends up doing that one as well. Stars get 17 shots on goal. Devils have 28 shots on goal, and Stars get a power play goal. Had 1 power play. Devils had 2 power plays, and Devils get shut out by Eddie Belfour. It's his first shutout since Game 3 against the San Jose Sharks, and Game 2 against the San Jose Sharks, and he finally gets one in the Stanley Cup final. It's his first in the Stanley Cup final, and in the first period, it's Brett Hull. He breaks the ice. He scores 1, 4:25 into the first, and makes it 1-0 Dallas. Former Sabre Alex Mogilny sends the crowd uproaring with 12:42 into the first period, tying it. Hull gets his second goal and his 11th goal of the playoff year, making it 15:44 into the third period, making it 2-1, and it's the game winner, and it ties the series. So now Dallas goes into Reunion Arena, where they've done very well with the series tied, getting shellacked in game 1, playing an awesome close game in game 2. And this one is again close, favoring New Jersey. Devils get 31 shots on Eddie Belfour. Dallas has 23 shots on Martin Brodeur, but Marty makes the saves, and Belfour made a lot of saves too, but Belfour let up 2 goals, and Brodeur did not. Dallas got a power play goal, the only goal of the evening, on Brodeur, and one of the Devils' 2 goals on Eddie Belfour was a power play goal. Sylvain Cote scores first for the Dallas Stars, 13:08 in. It's a power play goal. And then Arnott ties it, 18:06 into the first period, with assists by Rafalski and Colin White. And Peter Sikora ends up getting the game winner, making it a 2-1 Devils series lead, 12:27 into the second, with a power play goal. And now the Devils go into game 4, and the Stars have to protect their arena, because if they do not do so, they're going to go back up to the Garden State, where the Cup will be in the building. And the Devils absolutely barrage Eddie Belfour. 31 shots, and New Jersey stifling defense crushes the Dallas Stars, and they only get 17 shots on Martin Brodeur. They saw Brodeur once, but not enough, and as the Devils get 3 goals. Stars get a power play goal, only one of the evening, but no power play goals for the Devils. Joey Nieuwendyk scores first in the second period, as the first period is scoreless, 18:02 in to the second period. It's very late, and it's 1-0 Dallas. Then in the third period, it's Breland's 3rd goal of the playoffs, 2nd goal against the Stars in the Cup final, 2:27 into the third. He ties the game. And the game, and what eventually becomes the game winner, scored by Johnny Madden, 4:51 into the third. A shorthanded goal makes it 2-1 Devils, and Brian Rafalski makes the lead. The future Red Wing makes the lead that much farther for Dallas to climb it up, and goes blocker side 3-1 Devils, and they head back home. And this is another classic where New Jersey has the Cup in the building, and the Dallas Stars, for the second time all postseason, have to go to at least 4 periods. The shots on goal in this Stanley Cup Final Classic are insurmountable. New Jersey ends up losing. They get shut out again. It's the 5th shutout by Eddie Belfour this playoff year. And Eddie Belfour stops 48 Devil shots. The Dallas Stars get 41 on him, on Martin Brodeur, and they salve him once. And this period, this game ends up going 6 periods. In the first period, a lot of shots and a lot of chances. Second period, same. Third period, same. There's nothing in overtime as it goes along, nothing in the double overtime, and it goes to triple overtime. And 6:21 into the triple overtime, where fans early on thought Devils were going to get the overtime goal at home to win the Stanley Cup, and the roof fall off. But Modano saves the Stars' season. Brett Hull gets him the pass at Jari Lehtinen. It's the best line. It's one of the best offensive lines all year. And Mike Modano, with his 10th goal of the postseason, just behind Brett Hull, is able to beat Martin Brodeur and cap off a wonderful game and shutout complete for Eddie Belfour. And Dallas goes home. They're in danger of being eliminated, but they have a chance to force a Game 7 going back at home. And once again, the defense is there, and it's another close game, but the shots on goal really cement. 31 shots on goal by the Dallas Stars on Brodeur, and they solve them once. New Jersey gets 45 shots on goal, and again this game goes to not more than 3, but more than 4 periods. There are no goals in the first period as it goes along. No power play goals at all in this game. It's a shorthanded goal again. Scott Niedermayer, the great defenseman, makes it 1-0, 5:18 into the second period. And about a minute 13 later, Mike Keane ends up making it 1-1 and ties the game for the Dallas Stars. Great assist by Sean Thornton and Mike Modano, his 13th point of the playoff year. Third period comes and goes, and there are no goals. Overtime, there are no goals. Now in double overtime, the puck comes off the wall with about 8 minutes to play. The Devils do not have a power play, but the Stars are fatigued. They have guys on the defensive side, like Yuri Lettman's playing defense, and Daryl Sador and Darian Hatcher are gassed. And the Devils have a lot of plays going on. They had a puck go off a stick. They had a puck kicked away by Eddie Belfour. And now New Jersey's trying to roll in screens. So as the screen goes off the wall, Niedermeyer takes a tough shot that glances the side of the cage near Belfour, and a screen comes on the right side and misses. But now the Dallas defense are really just trying to get off the ice. They're not changing, but they know that there's a change coming soon, and that the Devils are trying these screen shots, really working the fast line, because it's the Arnott line on this gas defense, trying to plug the puck through Eddie Belfour. And as a Dallas Stars defenseman comes in, he cuts in on where the screen was coming from by Niedermeyer and near Shikora. There's only one defenseman on Elias, and as Elias moves in off the side, looking towards the right side of the cage where the screen was coming in, Elias turns off his skate and wades through. And now the other Dallas defenseman, who was covering the left side, where the middle side of the ice with the two defensemen behind was where Elias was. The right side where Shikora was, and the left side is where Jason Arnott is. So as Elias gets the puck, the eyes and the stick have to move of the Dallas defenseman, and the Dallas defenseman was Hatcher. And as Darian Hatcher moves to compensate for Elias, he gets a quick backhand in right on a screen for Arnott, who fires it top side under the bar over Eddie Belfour and ends the Stars' dreams, and the Devils win the Stanley Cup in 5 periods. It was a great year for the Dallas Stars. They had a great year. They were a really good team, but nobody really knew how far they would go, if they were going to go the route of the Blues and end up losing to a weak team. But they played their inferior competition well. They had a wonderful series against the Colorado Avalanche, and just what ended up happening was not even the goaltending. Eddie Belfour got better and better as the playoffs ran around. He did have some tough matchups against the Colorado Avalanche. Game 1 was not good for Eddie Belfour, but Dallas really had the defense wasn't to the level that it needed to be. And yeah, they had an offensively gifted team that was deep enough that they could have beaten the Philadelphia Flyer team or the Toronto Maple Leaf teams that were around. But if your defense is going against a good offensive line like the Arnott line was, and also you're having to qualify and clarify exactly what the New Jersey defense is, you're not going to have much fun and much time in the National Hockey League. So it would have been good for Dallas to win the Stanley Cup a second straight time, but as a Devil fan, I'm happy they didn't, and what a great year it was. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we ran a little long of revisiting. Next, we will cover my New Jersey Devils, the 2001 edition that lost to the Avalanche in 7 games. So everybody have a good night, and happy hockey.